We're going to talk about building a bridge. We've gotten our parts in place. We've gotten our sections in place. We've done some development of elements in those sections. Now we want to add the bridge. The bridge comes in our songs after we've played the verse and the chorus twice. By playing verse, chorus, we've developed an expectation of what our song sounds like. The bridge then is going to come in at around 2 minutes, and it will be the point of greatest contrast in the song. So at 65, we're looking for something that will take us as far away as possible from this verse and chorus idea we've set up without sounding like it's a different song. And that's the challenge of it. We want to find a sound that hasn't been used before, and we only want to introduce one new sound. Some people get excited and take the bridge and start introducing 2 or 3 new sounds, and then what happens is it sounds like a completely different song. We don't want to do that. We want to go as far away as possible, and then we want to work our way back. When we introduce our new element, we want to listen very carefully for the rule of 4, meaning how long is the cycle of that element and when does it play for that 4th time? After it's played that 4th time, we need to reintroduce one of the existing sounds in our song right at that point. We can't wait any longer. The more different our sound is, the more extreme it is from the song, the faster we need to return to those existing sounds. That plays out for most of us in the fact that by measure 69, we need to be reintroducing ideas that we've already had in the song, so we're bringing the listener back. We're going to build the bridge very similar to how we built the verses. We'll be using a lot of thinning, there'll be less sounds. You can see in the original verse we had one idea at a time every 4 bars. We can pretty much use that same technique in the bridge. But the idea is that the bridge is building the entire time or longer than the verse. So at the verse, we just had to build from measure 13 to 17 in the last 4 bars before we went to the chorus. The bridge, you might want to extend that a little bit. We're not just setting a stage, but we're actually creating tension and anticipation. We want the listener to know fairly early on in the bridge that they're going from this very unique place back to a familiar place. For your bridges, I want you to be real simple in this. Just go over into your loops and pick a pad. There are going to be some other techniques you can use in bridges, but for the most part, you want to find an accompaniment part, and pads are the easiest one because they tend to remove any sense of beat and rhythm and give it a sense of suspension, which is very different than what we've established in the chorus, where we have a really clear kick, snare, hi-hat groove going. So what I've done here is I've created another track called accompaniment bridge track. You should do that. So you have lead, accompaniment, and then accompaniment bridge. The reason for that is we might want a very different level on our bridge loop than we had on the accompaniment, and we can adjust that level independently here. So I'm just going to come over to my loops browser. I'm going to type in pad, and I'm going to listen quickly here to the end of my chorus. And then I'm going to click on some of these pads and see how they sound. Pretty good one right there, right? So if I come out of the chorus. And you can hear right here by 69 now that I need to start to bring in some of my existing ideas. So one idea would just be to bring the beat back. If I loop that, then the suspension of the beat. Actually, I'm liking that now. And you can hear that we're starting to go back to the song, right? Maybe I bring the... Let me repeat that there. And those go pretty well together, don't they? If you're going to bring in the accompaniment that you've been using through the song, you have to listen for the relationship between that accompaniment and the bridge accompaniment. And you'll see that here I have a pad and here I have more of a rhythmic pattern. And that allows me to put them together and not have too much masking, even though they're both accompaniment parts and they're in the similar frequency ranges. If you had a really strong pad in your chorus, then I might suggest switching to more of a rhythmic pattern in the bridge. So let's say your chorus was sounding something like this. And then you might switch to, that becomes the new element. So I want you to look carefully at the relationship between this pad sound and this rhythmic riff pattern. And if you have questions about pads and riffs, go over to the music elements video. That's where I'll be talking about those differences. We're covering those at the same time. I'm going to just glance at a couple more here. I wouldn't call this a pad even though they have it listed as a pad. What we should hear is some conflict between these two because now we've got two rhythmic patterns going, what we're going to call riffs in this class. It sounds pretty cool right there, right? And now we have masking. So if I'm going to have my regular accompaniment with my bridge accompaniment, which is probably something you're going to want to do in your bridge because you don't want to bring your lead in and you're going to start to run out of development ideas, you need to find one whose element is very different, meaning that the shape and the pattern of the notes being played is different. So one of the elements is this riff kind of repeating pattern element. Another one is the pad, and that's why I'm suggesting pad. Let me look for another one here. This one will probably work pretty well. Now this one brings up the other issue, which is the cycle, and you see that this has only a 2-bar cycle in it. And the question is, how long can you keep replaying that before it becomes too repetitive? I think it's going to work. Let's see how it sounds with the accompaniment. So that's another one I could use right there, okay? So I found a couple pads. I'm bringing in an existing song idea by 69. I could have switched it the other way around, right? I could have brought in the accompaniment instead of the drums there. And then, of course, you can do lots of editing. Let me show you where I ended up with mine, which I brought in a long pad loop. It doesn't repeat for 8 bars. That's a pretty dramatic change there, right? Then I bring in the first idea, the rhythm. Kind of like I was showing you in the other loops. I bring the accompaniment in a little early. Here I brought in a little bit of the lead, but I turned it up an octave, right? I transposed it up 12 steps here. I'm using the build that was already in the pad. And I go back to my chorus. Now I think this gives away the chorus a little bit. I'm going to keep working on that. But you can see I'm building this bridge very similar to how I built my verse. But I'm thinking the entire thing is a build, right? I want this sense of growing and developing across here. Okay, so that's the bridge. So you're going to find an accompaniment loop that sort of fits with your existing accompaniment. And in that, you'll probably be looking at pads. But if you already have a pad in your accompaniment part, you might want to find a more rhythmic for your bridge accompaniment part. And see if you can get those two working together as you lead into your chorus. And try not to give away your lead again before you get back to the chorus. I gave mine away just a little too much there, and I'm going to go explore how to not do that. You also notice I did not bring my bass in the entire time, and that's because I wanted to emphasize the drop here. It's another technique you might want to try. And then I'm using some of the same kind of breaks and builds that I was using in the verse area. Again, similar to a verse, but you want the build to be happening over a longer period of time, and it's coming from a spot that is very far away because we've established this expectation previously.